I spent 12 years learning this about language learning, so you don't have to. Many people struggle with language learning because they think they have to sit down for an hour or two to just study grammar and focus on writing things down, and you have to dedicate time to do that every week. And for many people, they just don't have time and this isn't feasible. So instead of doing that, they do nothing and they don't ever reach their language goals. That's why you shouldn't rely on pen and paper if you're someone who struggles to make time in your life to learn language. I'm James, I'm a native English speaker. I can speak Spanish and Italian. I have 12 years experience of language learning. And in this video, I'm going to share all my key lessons so that you can learn your target language in less time and in a more fun way. Okay, so I mentioned Notepad. Don't use a notepad if you don't have time. Many people struggle to make time for language learning, and normally in class or in a traditional sense, you sit down and you study grammar and verbs and phrases on a piece of paper. And if you don't have time, that isn't appealing for you. Instead, you're best listening to a podcast or watching content, or while you're doing other things, for example, driving or commuting to work or to the gym, do something like listening to a podcast or get exposure to language. You might not think that that helps, but actually it does, because as babies, we're used to absorbing as much content that's going on around us as possible. So watching TV shows and movies is a great example because you can see what's going on, you can have subtitles in your native language, and you can listen to what's going on. So that's one thing. Next, it doesn't actually matter what you do to some extent when you're learning a language. Any exposure is good exposure. It's like when it comes to fitness, even going for a walk is better than nothing, just sitting down. So, little by little, build yourself up. You don't have to go absolutely all in, get a language lesson every single week and do all the apps. Literally, for language apps, one app is absolutely fine. Obviously, it depends on your preference. If you like using Duolingo compared to Memrise or Babbel, then do that. It doesn't really matter. The main thing that matters is that you're regularly exposing yourself to new words and phrases, and also words and phrases that you might have forgotten in the past to refresh yourself. But if you're really not sure where to start because there's so many resources and so many choices, then I do have a link in the description to one-to-one sessions with myself where I'm not teaching you a language, but I'm like a personal trainer to help you achieve your language goals, using my 12 years of experience, of course. But yeah, click in the link below if you want to find out more. Next, try not to compare yourself to others, because someone might ask you, how long have you spent learning Spanish or whatever your target language is? But realistically, time doesn't matter because you're not also understanding the nuances, like how much effort you're putting in per week, how many hours you're spending per week, what activities you're doing. Some people, for example, have dyslexia and they're not as good at reading and writing as other people, so they might be best practicing verbally. But if they don't really have much exposure, they're going to feel bad. So if you compare yourself to others doing the same journey as you, but then you're using different variables, then that's not fair on yourself because it might discourage you from continuing. If someone says they've been learning Spanish for 3 months and they're really good at speaking, but you've been trying for 3 years and you can't really have a conversation, then that's going to demotivate you because you're going to think that you're bad at language learning. But realistically, they might have smashed it and hammered it every single day for that period of time, whereas you're taking a more casual approach. So you don't know how much effort they're putting in behind the scenes, so you can't really compare yourself in that sense. Instead, focus on yourself and comparing to how you were previously, a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago. That's a better comparison, you versus you. Next, many people think you need to learn grammar before anything else when it comes to language learning. However, that's what we're taught in school because you sit down and you learn the verbs and stuff. But realistically, if you've been on holiday and you've learned a few tourist phrases like the bill please or can I have a beer please or something like that, then that's so much more practical and it's so much more useful in your mind because it has a practical use. Whereas if you're learning how to conjugate a verb, so turn it into first person, second person, then that can be really boring for many people. And if you're bored by it, you're not going to absorb it, you're not going to learn. So instead of starting with the grammar and like the rules of it, start with ready-made phrases. So skip the grammar side of things, just work out what a phrase is. So the bill please. The next time you go to a restaurant or next time you practice it with a language partner, say it and see if they understand you. And then there's two things about that. One is you don't have to construct it, you don't have to know the grammar to be able to say it. And secondly, if you're already able to say a ready-made phrase and practice it with a native speaker, and you get feedback from them and they understand you, then that's proof to yourself, that's evidence that actually I can actually speak a bit of language. What if I can speak more of it? And then that's how you build confidence that you can actually learn a different language because you're already using it, you're already seeing the practical value of it compared to in school where you sat down and you're looking at charts and you have to memorize them and it's really boring, so you forget it. And also, I've got an email course on this that's 30 days, and each email is a snippet of advice you can read in 1 minute that helps you get closer to your language goal in less time. There's a link in the description and it's absolutely free. Next thing is speak as early as you can with native speakers. So obviously, if you're someone who just wants to have a pen pal and just write and read in your target language, that's a different story, that's fine. But many people want to have a conversation or at least be able to communicate to some extent with a native speaker. And in order to do that, you have to focus on the speaking and listening part of it. So the listening part, you can cover that by listening to the radio or a podcast or a Netflix show or movie or something in your target language. However, when it comes to speaking, you have to practice as soon as possible with native speakers. Now, many people put this off and postpone it for a while because they think that their level is too low to speak with native speakers, where realistically, what you can do is there's many apps like Tandem and italki where you can have a practice with native speakers, often for free, because you can help them with their English or your native language in exchange for them helping you with your target language. So it's like an exchange of time. And what this means is that you can start speaking straight away and you can preface it. You can say, by the way, I'm very early on. Go easy on me. Is it okay if I practice a few phrases with you? And most of the time, they'll say, yes, that's absolutely fine. Let's go. And if you make a mistake, they know to go easy on you because you're just starting out. But you might have been burnt or had a bad experience in the past practicing in, say, Barcelona or in a tourist area. And you might have had it in the past where, say, you've been out and about and you've asked for the bill and they respond to you in English and you feel like you failed. And you might be like, wait a minute, I tried to speak your language and you're coming back to me in English or you're saying something bad to me. And that if that makes you feel bad, then you can be scarred by that. And it can even be subconscious things saying, wait a minute, I can't practice with a native speaker yet because I'm not good enough for it. But realistically, everyone has to start somewhere. And the benefit of practicing first is that you gain evidence you can actually speak with them. And that fear of, I cannot speak with a native speaker yet, goes away the more you practice it. And you realize how nice people are in reality if you're practicing with someone who also wants to practice with you. So, really, think about the situation in the past where you've been in and you've tried to speak the language and you've been sort of rejected. It's a situation more than anything else. It's not your language learning abilities or your speaking abilities. Everyone's capable of learning at least one language. You've learnt your native language and you can do it again. You've got the same brain, it's just a different layout because you're now grown up basically. But to be fair, it can be quite difficult to overcome your fear of speaking with native speakers. So I have put a link in the description to a one-to-one session with me where I help you overcome these fears. And I can even link you up with a native speaker if you're struggling to find one. But the fear of speaking with native speakers is one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of people struggle with to reach their language goals. So if you really want to reach your language goals, whether that's being conversational or more fluent, and you're at the very start or you're a beginner struggling to make sentences and you don't know what to do, then if you click the link in the description, that's where I can help you. And finally, you can take a day off. You can take a break. Many people think that if they stop their daily streak on Duolingo or they've got a million days or something, if they stop, that's it. You can literally, same with the gym, you can take a break, take time off, and then when you come back to it, you'll feel more excited and ready to go. So don't let that put you off, but obviously try and build your lifestyle around language learning habits. So if you're commuting to work in a car, have a podcast or radio show on in your target language, and every bit of exposure, even 5 minutes, is better than nothing and it adds up over time.